My traumatizing encounter at midnight. You can skip this long pre-lounge paragraph, but I think it's somewhat related to my actions. The story goes like this. Me and my friend went on a cycling night ride, which turned out to be much more than just a chill night ride. We started the ride at around 9:15 p.m., chilling, recording videos. We reached our destination at around 11 p.m. We took pictures, refueled, and rehydrated. It was by this time that I realized my phone was dead. We then decided to have a sleepover at our friend's house. We arrived exactly 1 a.m. The three of us chatted for a little, and then I decided to grab my charger back home since it was only 5 minutes away. I live in a pad, a shared room with multiple people that have beds. I live there for school since it only requires a minute of walking. The pad also requires you to walk in a tight alley, a little from the main street, and isn't accessible even with my bike. I arrived at the alley towards my pad, and a familiar figure across the street called, "Psst," essentially calling me. I ignored him and immediately went in since I promised my friends to be back by 15 minutes. I walked, parked my bike right outside the door, and grabbed my charger. I then went back to the street and cycled. As I went back my way, the familiar man called me again. I thought that he was a friend of my pad mate since he looked exactly like him and I've already met him. I went back to check and maybe have a little chatter. When I saw the person, he had a different face and I thought he was lost and wanted to ask directions or something. It wasn't that. The events went like this. "What are you doing? Just cycling around?" He smiles. Yeah. "Oh? What's your name?" "Jake." I'm not going to tell Reddit my name, but I did tell him my real name, which was kind of stupid. "And where do you go to school?" "That school right there." "And what's your course?" "Engineering." I'm not an engineering student. At this point, he starts walking towards me. Me. "Oh, and where do you live?" "Just right there." He started to touch my hips and then went for my dick. By this point, I was almost sure that I was getting hit up by this drunk gay man. I looked around to see if there are people seeing me. "And where do you really live?" he asked again, still stroking my dick. I mentioned my dad's hometown. "Can we fuck?" he asked. I was dumbfounded. "Can we? Fuck, you're so hot. I actually have friends waiting around the corner." I bluffed, but it didn't work. "It will be quick. Let's go." "No, no, no, please, no," I told him in a calm voice. "I can give you my number if you want." I tried to de-escalate. Maybe he just wants me romantically. "No, I want to have a quickie right there." He still insisted. I then saw a yellow light behind me. It was faint, but it made me feel calm. I instinctively went up and went back to my friend's house. As I looked back, he opened his phone and called someone. Now that I think of it, his phone screen was white when he put it up to his ear. Maybe it was a fake phone call because calling someone wouldn't result in a white-colored screen. But I thought that he was calling an apprentice. L thought of the worst. Am I going to get raped this night? I sprinted like my life depends on it. Took a different route, a 6-lane, unlit street that is only used by trucks. I almost vomited. The experience was gross. I felt like crying, but no tears fall out. I constantly checked my back if someone was there, maybe his accomplice, or maybe a police car just randomly patrolling. I then took on the most well-lit street, even though it was the longer route. It was a street that had banks and grocery stores that were open 24/7.